Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts based here in Seattle, Washington. And hopefully you're having a nice Thursday, again, morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are in the world. And I have limited time today, so I'm going to get right to my introduction, and then we're going to start talking with my guest. My guest today is a well-known songwriter, guitarist, producer, and multi-instrumentalist. His new creative project is called HEALER, the metal opera by Magnus Karlsson, out on Frontiers Music on March 12th. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Mr. Magnus Karlsson. So I'm going to bring him in right now. Hi,
Hello.
Magnus.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very fine. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's just kind of dive right into HEALER. It sounds like it's been a project that's been a long time in the making. What can you kind of tell me about the origins of it?
I started, I think it was maybe 1.5 years ago, I started to write, leave the metal for a while and started to write some more soundtrack music and or orchestral music. And then I came up with the idea to do an album with a lot of orchestra in it. And I recorded a intro. It's the intro of Awake, the first song on the album, just the intro without any vocals. And I sent it to the record company Frontiers and asked them, are you interested of doing something like this? And I think it took 2 minutes and I had an answer. Yeah, go for it. And yeah, then I thought about the vocals and stuff, and I have worked with a lot of great singers, and but not so many female singers. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to do it with female singers.
Okay, and yeah, you have a real distinctive story going on with the album and a concept, and you have, like you mentioned, the 7 female singers. So, how did you come up with the storyline and the concept for this album?
Yeah, the story and the lyrics came a bit later. I started with the music, and yeah, and then I had some of the singers in mind, and I hadn't decided all, and I had a long list with singers, and I started to write on the story. So it came along the way.
Okay, and so it's interesting that you had that you were working on the music first, and then the story and the lyrics came later. And so, knowing that you had a long list of singers that you were hoping would be able to collaborate on this, did you also kind of try to write to their specific singing style and range?
Yeah, and when it was decided, I had some lyrics and I had some melodies, and I tried to find the right parts for every singer. And I worked with some of them before, and I listen a lot to them, to the bands and their albums, and try to hear, will it sound good, or is it too high, is it too low? So it was a lot to think about. It was, but they are all professional, and they did a great job.
Okay, and want to say hi to Marlena over in Greece. She's watching this right now on YouTube, so she's saying hello. And
Hello.
and so Magnus, I'm curious too that with this album, was it something where was the bulk of it already done before the pandemic and the lockdown happened, or did it happen during it, or you finished it during that time? What was the timeline?
It was during it, and even if it's been a hard time. It's made it easier, I think, to have some of the singers, because not everyone was on tour, so it's easier for them to find time in the studio. So, yeah.
Okay, so I assume then everyone was working remotely on their parts, and then you swap files and that kind of a thing.
Yeah, we didn't meet. It wasn't possible. I had to send out the demos to them and explain a little how I wanted it. And that was the hard part for me, because normally I sing all the demos, but it's hard to sing when it's for female voices. And I didn't have a demo singer for this. So I had to sing it like, it sounded like a mix between Bee Gees and King Diamond or something. I sang with a very high voice, but they understood the vibe and everything. So it sounded funny, but the result was great.
Yeah, no, obviously, yeah. As soon as I heard the first single from Into the Unknown, or the first music video, I should say, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly the kind of thing that I love. I'm actually a credentialed opera reviewer here in Seattle when those performances are going on. So mixing that symphonic part with the operatic part, it just was like so good, and then you had so many different styles of female vocals on it that it was like, man, this is just amazing, and it totally paints a picture. It's so epic. I can't wait for everybody to hear it in March.
Ah, thanks very much. That's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, I call it a metal opera, but it's not like they're singing in the opera style. I think it's the only one that has this classical style of the singers are Jomna. But I think the word opera, I use it because it's it's one story. It's not a bunch of songs. It's one long song with different parts in it, and that makes it opera. I guess I could call it metal musical too. That would be correct. But we chose the word metal opera.
Okay, and when it comes to the storyline and everything, were there certain like films or books or anything that you got certain inspiration from that gave you ideas of how to come up with your own concept?
Actually, nothing I can think about. Maybe it did, but I don't know it. Yeah, it was just fantasy, and yeah, I don't know. More the music came from listening to Hans Zimmer and those guys and soundtracks, and I got a lot of inspiration. Maybe not the melodies, but how they use the orchestra, how to put the strings and harmonies and the vocals on top of it. Because even if I have great sound and great melodies, that's just a part of it. Then you have to know when can I have the harmony, and can I kick in with the full band, and when do I have to stop and only have a piano? What will sound good? But nowadays the sound libraries, MIDI libraries, they sound so good, so you can already from the start you can hear, oh, this will work, and so it's very fun to work when it sounds good already from the start with all the sounds.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense when you're talking about like what should be there in terms of orchestral parts, and when it maybe needs to breathe a little bit, and then the dynamics of a song and another kind of aspect. And obviously, with your background, I mean, it's so amazing to me because you've done so many different things, and you're so talented that you continue to put something out new that I'm just floored by. It's just like, oh my gosh. So just for people out there that maybe aren't so familiar with your work, can you kind of speak to like how you first got into music and guitar playing, and then how you start getting into the songwriting and everything else that you do?
Yeah, I started to play, a bit of piano and stuff when I was really a kid. And when I went to music school, they told me they only had room for me if I played violin or guitar, and I took the guitar then, and they only had a teacher for classical guitar, so that's what I did. But I listened to metal band. This was in the early 80s with all Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and all those bands, and that's what was a big inspiration for me. So I got an electric guitar and started a band. I was very young. I think I was 11 or something. I started my first band, and I never been interested in playing covers. I know that many people start with that, but right away I wanted to do start to write my own stuff. So I started with songwriting really early, and then I grew up, and when I needed to get more education, I went to music school and stuff, and I was older. There wasn't really metal or hard rock or anything. If you want to have a great teacher, at least in Sweden at that time, it was classical or it was jazz, and then I tried the jazz thing a bit, learned a bit of that, and nothing wrong with that. I liked jazz and fusion especially, but I really missed the hard rock thing and the metal thing, and it wasn't really popular in Sweden in the 90s, and the grunge took over a bit, and but then 20 years ago there was a band called Midnight Sun, and it was a friend that recommended me and said, yeah, you try this guy, he's really fast on guitar. And I came to the studio and they said, yeah, can you play like Yngwie Malmsteen? And I said, nah, I'm more into Steve Vai, and no, we want to have that Yngwie Malmsteen thing. And so I did my best and tried to play like Yngwie Malmsteen, and I got the job. And yeah, then that was it. Then I started my own band, Last Tribe, and we had a record deal right away on Frontiers. And yeah, when I started on Frontiers, that was, I think it was 20 years ago. Then I have all these projects and
Yeah, yeah, no, you again, for people out there, if you're not familiar with Magnus's work, definitely check him out after this interview because he's been doing music for a long time. We're kind of from the same era because I grew up with the '80s metal bands. I'm 50, so all that stuff I grew up with. I'm a guitar player as well, so yeah, I'm just amazed by your work. And I was watching some things with a lot of the sweep picking that you were doing and some other kinds of technique, and it was like, wow, that's just amazing. But I'm really, I think, even more impressed by the songwriting and the production that you do with your projects. So, is that something that you, yeah, is that something that you learned by doing, or did you kind of actually get an education in from that side of things?
not in writing songs, but I have all the theory, music theory, but that's stuff I try to forget because when I write songs, I just want to have fun, and if it sounds good, it's good. I don't want to think, oh, it has to be that scale, it has to be that harmony. I just want to, this is great, and I don't care what scale it is. But yeah, it's interesting because if you would ask me 15 years ago, what's your main thing? Are you a guitar player or are you a songwriter or producer? I would say guitar player, but I guess today I would say songwriter, because it's taking over. I don't spend that much time anymore practicing guitar, but I spend a lot of time checking out new sounds and writing songs, and that's also kind of when I practicing guitar, I don't practice to get fast or anything. I just tweaking the rhythm guitar. I want to have that perfect rhythm guitar, because that's so important for a song, for the riff, especially for bands like now when I play with Primal Fear. The guitar riff is everything. It doesn't matter if I have the best guitar solo, because if the riff is crap, no one is gonna listen to it.
That's very true. If people can't either bang their head to it or remember it, or just kind of get in rhythm with that riff, then it becomes almost a throwaway at that point.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm just curious too, with the name Heart Healer, where did that come from?
Yeah, that's the main character that Adrian sings, and that's about someone that heals people, and every time she does it without knowing it, just be close to someone else, she gets weaker. And the main thing here is that if you do something good that people don't understand how you do it, then not everyone will like it. They will get suspicious and maybe even hate you for it, even if you do something good. And that's just about that story. Of course, they are happy that she can save people, and she in the lyrics she saves someone and heal them, but they don't know how she's doing it. So then they start to hunt her, and hate her for it, and that's strange.
Yeah, it's almost like a weird aspect of human nature when something is happening, but they don't understand it, so then they start to question it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's good, why can't we just accept it?
Yeah, no, that would be a nice world to live in if we could just accept things at face value when there's something positive and good. And with you had, like I mentioned earlier, you have Into the Unknown and This Is Not the End. The music videos have come out, the visualizers have been out for them. And do you have more videos that will be coming out through the rest of the next couple months here for the album?
No, we did two, and that wasn't easy because we couldn't meet. The first one we did with Nora, and she recorded in Finland, and the actors was in north of Sweden. I don't know if you've seen it, but they have snow and stuff, and I recorded my part here in south of Sweden. And the last one we did, that was everybody had to film them in the studio, and then Wayne at Frontiers Records, he put it together as one video. So it's not easy to make a music video now when you have the whole, everyone is living all over the world. It's really all over the world, so it's hard.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking back to This Is Not the End. The video, so like Annette sings, and then you have other people. The other vocalists are all in there, and Margarita's in there, and it's just kind of like I assumed that they had done that in their own separate places, which you just confirmed for me.
Yeah, yeah, they did.
It just seems like with such an amazing album and storyline that you could almost see like like a mini movie or something down the road being made from this concept.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, it's not made for one song with one video. We had to do it, but I would prefer if you listen to the whole thing, relax, sit back with headphones and a good drink, and close your eyes and visualize the story. That's the goal with it. But I made a lot of interviews now, and one told me, yeah, but I think this album is great when I work out. So yeah, I guess we listen different. it works for workout too. But nowadays, everybody has Spotify and stuff, and if they listen to a new band, they maybe give 30 seconds chance, and then you move on to the next one. And I mean, I have intros that are over 2 minutes, so you need to give it time to come into it.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely agree with you. And again, anyone that's watching this, and I'm old school, so I love to just sit there and actually take in the entire album. I remember back in the old days when I'd be looking at the album cover and the lyrics as the whole thing was playing. And this is one of those records, like Magnus just said, you can't just try to like preview it for a little bit and then jump to the next thing. Like, no, just kind of block everything out and just take the whole story, the whole concept in, and it's mind blowing.
Yeah, I hope that people can take the time to do it, and I think that many of us want to do it. That's why vinyl is getting bigger again. People, that's not just having music in the background. It's a nice moment you put on the record and enjoy it, just like you enjoy a movie or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And again, for me, when I was listening to this, it was like I just started painting pictures in my head, and it was so cinematic. And I'm also a credentialed film reviewer, so that I kind of have these crossing of worlds coming together. So I'm like,
okay,
this is amazing. So yeah, when this opportunity came to speak with you, it's like, oh yeah, I jumped all over that. I didn't wait at all. It's like I want to talk to this gentleman about this incredible project. Let alone your career has been amazing too. And so. So you mentioned that you did the 2 videos. There really aren't necessarily plans for others. And we're in such a weird time right now with the pandemic and the lockdown and all that kind of thing. Is there any other promotion coming in the next, say month or so then for this record?
No, I'm just doing a lot of interviews. I don't know if they will release a song just like the audio or something. I'm not sure really if the Frontiers will do it. No. I'm just doing a lot of interviews, and hopefully people will take the time when it come out to listen to the whole thing and see it as one long song and not just, oh, I listened to this one and move on. Because yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but you will miss a lot of stuff if you won't listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, it reminds me of like some of the great concept records of the past. Even like I'm thinking of like Operation Mindcrime from Clean Truck, something like that, where you can't just jump into one song and then leave it. You got to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a great example. A favorite album.
Yeah, so I know we've got limited time. What else is coming up then? What else have you been working on besides Heart Healer?
Yeah, I just finished the album with Annette Olson, her solo album, and that's really cool because she is into really heavy and hard music. She's listening to Dimmu Borgir and those bands, and she wants to do some really, really heavy. And her voice, she's more like almost like a pop metal voice. She can sound like ABBA sometimes, and that was really fun. It came out great. It also has a lot of orchestra in it, but quite different to this one. And that's important for me that all the albums I do are different. Other way, I would lose inspiration. I get bored. So that was great, and I think it will come out after this summer. I'm not sure. And now I don't know if you see here, but I'm working on the next Ferryman with Ronnie Romero and Mike Tirana.
Wow.
Well, it's the 3rd album with those guys.
Wow. Do you ever take a break?
No, I tried it a couple of years ago because sometimes I try to keep the balance in life with every family and everything, and I also work as a guitar teacher full time, and I said now I have to take a break now because I had a lot of stuff. So I turned down every offer and said no to everything and finished what I had, and this was in the summer. I think it was 2 weeks, and then I was, I have to start something. So I guess I need it. I just have to keep the balance and not too tight with deadlines. And for example, with this heart healer, I told the record company, I really give me time for this now. I don't want to stress it or anything. I want to have at least a year to write, and all the singers also together, all the singers, that takes time. So I don't want to stress anything, but sometimes it can, be too much.
Well, and I think you said the key word, balance. If you find the balance, then you're good.
Yeah. I can't live without it, but I don't want to feel the stress. But it's good with deadlines. I remember before I worked for Frontier, they always want to, when they write a contract, we need this is the deadline, deliver the master, and that's great, because I remember before I worked like that and just wrote songs for fun, I could work on one song for half a year and just trying ideas and stuff, and it's easy to get stuck and I can change that, I can do that better, and so now I learned I have this amount of time. Let's do it.
Yeah, I can relate to that. A long time ago, I worked at a computer company as an audio engineer. And so when we had deadlines for a client, it forced me to be creative in a short amount of time.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
Yeah, and initially I didn't like it because I'm not inspired today, so how am I going to come up with this? Like, it doesn't matter. It's a job. You have to do it, and the deadline's midnight. So it really helped me out in the long run of how to get into that headspace quickly if I need to.
Yeah, that's something I remember. I had to, was wait for inspiration, and I never wait for inspiration now. I just go up in the morning and start. I never wait for anything. So I guess that's something you learn when you have a lot of deadlines.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very true words. Well, Magnus, it was so awesome getting a chance to talk to you about Heart Healer and the project. And again, for everybody, it's coming out on, I want to make sure I get the date, March 12th on Frontiers. And I know they've got the CD version and the vinyl version that you can order right now on their website. And hopefully that you have so many projects coming up that we'll be able to reconnect at a later date and talk about some of the other things you have coming up.
Absolutely. Great talking to you.
Great talking to you. Have a good night over there. And thank you so much for taking the time.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.